Disclaimer. We are two regular guys who love to talk Bone Thugs and Harmony. We do not represent Bone Thugs or any Bone affiliate. We are also not Bone Thugs experts. The views and information you hear in this podcast may be based on personal opinion. Please feel free to leave corrections and clarifying information in the comments. And enjoy.
I was saying that to you about Krayzie Bone, which is I don't appreciate this guy for the level that he brings it. When I first started listening to the new QuickFix, because that was the next thing that that I had to listen to after Carbon Monoxide, and when I listened to the new QuickFix, I was immediately unimpressed. Now, before everybody loses their mind, I was unimpressed because unless fucking Krayzie Bone delivers you a 10, you don't even realize the level of amazing that you're hearing. I'm sitting here listening to fucking Grand Slam 8.5s, 9s, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm not even giving it the light of, day. And I'm like, bro, you need to bring this shit back and listen. And it was so crazy because I was listening to my girl, and I had just, and I'll save this piece, but I had just heard a song that I really fucking enjoyed. And so it drops into the next song, and I'm not even appreciating the next fucking song because I had finally got what grabbed my attention. So I didn't even appreciate the next song. She's like, this is a really good song. And I brought it back and I listened to it and I was like, wow, this is a good song. Like I'm fucking off right now. I'm not really, I'm not giving this what I should be giving it because he delivers at such a high level all the time that unless it's a fucking 10, you don't even give it its fucking props. And 8.5 should be blowing my fucking mind, and I'm just like, well, that's what he does all the time, bro. Like this Krayzie Bone doesn't deliver less than that. In fact, it would have been more notable if I would have heard a song in there that I felt like was like mediocre as fuck, which they're not verses on that. I thought the hook on my Euphoria, that bored me, but then like the verses were good. But it's like it would almost stand out more if he had something that kind of sucked. I'd be like, yo, that caught my attention because it sucked. So everything was at like a really high level for me, and I had to go back and really listen to appreciate it. Krayzie Bone is that guy's a gift. I haven't got a chance to see what the Bone fans are saying about this. First of all, how long ago did this drop, Johnny? Couldn't be that long, right?
QuickFix, it was right around the time carbon monoxide dropped.
August. Says August. Says August 12th. Okay. So dropped in August, so it's been out. How do fans feel about this? Are they loving it?
I saw a mixed bag. Like, so I seen a couple guys, they were like, this isn't really what I'm checking for. It's an experimental album. So before I even say how the fans feel, I'm happy Krayzie made it. Like, I could see Krayzie's trying to like test the waters to say like, hey man, I'm kind of into some different kind of stuff now. Here it is. I think it was a little too different for some fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you imagine if, as we talked about the two, you got the Thuggish Ruggish and you got the Harmony. And if you're like in it for the Bone Thugs and not in it for the Harmony, this album, you probably wouldn't like it. But if you're into the Harmony and you're into like Krayzie Bone experimental things, there's a lot of experimentation on this album in a way where it almost feels too experimental or not experimental enough. Like, he's experimenting with different kinds of songs, but they're not experimental. For instance, like the first time you heard Mo Murder on Mo Thugs, that was a new side of Crazy Bone we never heard before. We're like,
Mm-hmm.
in fact, we never even heard a rapper kind of do that kind of stuff. And it's like, yo, I like this, man. Am I allowed to like this? This is cool shit. Like man, this is this dude giving his soul, man. He's trying something new. And it doesn't, there's no Mo Murder level aside from that one track, but even that isn't like it. It's just like it's the quick fix. So this is what I want to say, because a lot of people are like, yo, Carbon Monoxide blows Quick Fix out the box, and it's like, yeah, because Carbon Monoxide's a real album. Quick Fix is a mixtape. It's the Quick Fix. It's greater than a mixtape, but it's not quite an album. So these are like the cuts from the next thing Krayzie's working on. You know what I'm saying? So it's got to be judged as a mixtape, not as an album. And it's a different album. And just a lot of people that aren't into the experimental, to those people that don't like the Krayzie Bone album, I'm like, yo, just get a Lazy Bone album. You know what you're getting there. The purpose of Krayzie Bone albums is to have your sense of music challenged, because he's an experimenter and he's going to give you, calling him eccentric isn't the right word, because Bizzy's eccentric, but Krayzie is a connoisseur, and he likes to taste different flavors of music, and that's what happens here. But it's not on par with his experimentation in the past. In my opinion, it's good. It's a good album. It's like I was saying, we don't appreciate the talent. When you go back and listen to Quick Fix, listen to it. He's doing singing. He's saying positive messages in the album. So everything I wanted Bone to do, Krayzie Bone's doing it now. I should be Fix too, like it's the next coming, because it's everything I said I wanted. But there's something, I don't know, there's something missing with it. I don't know what it is. There's something missing. It's good, but it's just it's not blowing my face away.
Is the first Quick Fix like highly revered? Like, I mean, are fucking people just losing their fucking minds and burning down buildings over the less drama, more music?
I will. I mean, I'm still so. Dude, that's a good point. Like, which do I like better? Quick Fix 1, bro. Apply the pressure. Apply the pressure is one of the best Krayzie Bone songs. One of, not the best, but one of the best.
Yeah,
it was a
great song. But what about the rest of that? By the way, I always thought that should be a Bizzy Bone beat.
Yeah. So you got Apply the Pressure is to me is the best track. But like, if you include Cashing Out on that album, because it is on like the bonus feature of the CD, you got that one.
Yeah, but that's not even his song. That's not even his song, right, though. That's somebody else's song. So right, it's just like this is what I'm driving at, though. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Even if the first Quick Fix has some great songs, when you say Krayzie Bone albums, when you say Thug Mentality 1999, when you say Thug on the Line, when you say, I would even say like the Gemini album, like, do the Quick Fixes come to mind when you're talking about those albums, even the first one?
Yeah, bro. So for instance, the greatest answer to your question, the best way to answer that is the best Quick 2 is a song that's supposed to be on Fixtape Volume 3, the Waiting for Never. Or maybe that was Fixtape 2. Waiting for Never is the standout track on Quick Fix 2, and that song came out 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the best part of Quick Fix 2 is something from Fixtape 3. And
I group all that shit, the fix tapes are all kind of grouped together to me. Like they're good, but I don't consider any of them albums. I don't think you're supposed to. And the Quick Fixes kind of fall into that group to me. Like, I take them serious, but I don't feel like Krayzie Bone put his all into them. I think it's what it says. It's the Quick Fix. He's like, oh, fucking, I know you motherfuckers want this real good. You want to roll this real good shit up right now, but this real good shit ain't ready. So I'm gonna give you this bowl pack of this shit so y'all can smoke on this while we get it started. And you know, I listened to the QuickFix, the new one. I would say for me, I mean, it definitely, you know, the way the last QuickFix started, because that the first one came out the gate with Apply the Pressure, right?
No, I think another level might have been another level had a music video for it where he's rapping in his store, and then there was Fly Away or uh Fly Into the Sky. What the heck was the name of it? The Quick Fix One had solid tracks on it, and even it was the one where they were drinking. It's like
It starts with Apply the Pressure though. That's the first track.
sure wasn't another level.
Yeah, 100%. I'm
Okay.
Another level is number 3. I'm looking at it. So it starts with that. You know, I think that was the right way to start it. Is really what I'm getting at. I didn't think this one started the way that I needed it to start. It's not that's the kind of, you know, it was kind of boring. But again, I wasn't giving Krayzie, and you may be doing the same thing. He delivers at such a fucking level that it's like you're not impressed unless he's giving you the full fucking grand slam. It's like the guy will give you a home run and you're just like, yep, Babe Ruth, we know you hit home runs. Good for you. Good for you. And that makes us shitty fans, bro. Like that makes us shitty fucking fans, because once I went and reinvested myself into the QuickFix, the new one, again, I'm not saying this thing's Thug Mentality 99, but I felt better about it. What I want to know, what I ask about, because again, this is the first time I've logged in really to anything, was for us to do this. What is your favorite song on this one? Is it just the re-release of Waiting for Never? And if that is your favorite on it, because that's been a favorite even before it was fully released, with the exception of Waiting for Never, what is your favorite?
So it's a couple, and let me qualify them all. So Major Greater captures like what I've been. I was saying bad things about this album, but this actually, in theory, is what I've been saying I wanted, right? So Major Greater it's a chilling track. I would like My Euphoria if it wasn't so repetitive. Like actually,
Mm-hmm,
My
mm-hmm.
Euphoria is what
The
I
verses are
want.
great.
Like I want more. Yeah, yeah. It's the repetitive parts is just too much. It's like, oh my man, if you just took away like two of the repetitive parts, but My Euphoria captures what I'm looking for in a Crazy Bone song, just less repetitive. If it had more variety, or less repeating. But My Euphoria captures what I wanted. So like initially I was like, that's my track, but then I'm like, man, I can't. I need more variety on that. But that's the style I wanted. I really, 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 really liked Fraud, but that one could get old real quick. But I think it was a standout experiment. I was talking about this experimentation. Fraud is like so tremendously experimental, and I remember that was the first track I put on, and my wife heard it. She's like, "Oh, Krayzie done. He's doing some new stuff," and I thought so too. That's the one, right? That's
That,
the one that's the one you were liking, right?
that's my favorite on the album, is Fraud.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask you about that, because it's so unboned that I'm like, oh, this is either motherfuckers either love this as much as me, or this is getting torn apart. My guess is that it's getting torn apart. I know that Bone fans don't like when it doesn't sound just like some Bone shit. Um, I really loved Fraud. I can count all the reasons why that Bone fans probably don't love it. But if you break down Krayzie's delivery, like skip all the other shit, skip the silly chorus and the jagged beat, Krayzie's delivery on that, top notch. He's giving you top notch delivery on that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if anything, it's something new and it was delivered good. So back to my story about the experimentation. Krayzie experimented there and actually delivered a solid track. It's a memorable track. It's a standout track. That's like a single almost, right? Like if you had to pick a single from the album, I'm pretty sure you're picking Fraud. I'm picking Fraud as the single. just because it's current. It's got a current sound to it. It's got a cool beat, and it even has like it just sounds like something Strange Music might make, or another rapper. So like it was cool to hear Krayzie on something that's current. Whereas like I call it the granddaddy style, where he's he's kind of like on some of these other tracks. I've seen him do this a lot. He's doing like these old like 70s kind of sounding songs, singing songs, which I'm cool with. Branch out, make an Anthony Henderson album, but like a singing album. But it's just I don't know. It's a quick fix. But Fraud is dope. Fraud's dope. The chorus gets like a little tiring on multiple plays, but it's cool. The first time you hear it, you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Something different's happening. So
Fraud is dope.
I'm cool with Fraud.
I liked Fraud so much that when All That I've Learned came on, like I immediately didn't even give it any love. I was like, how the fuck can I listen to this now? And then I had to go back and re-listen, and that's actually one of my favorites on there too. The hook is whatever to me, but the verses, I felt like the content on the verses was great. The content on the verses of All That I've Learned was great. Major Greater was great. Waiting for Never was great. When you had first told me about Major or Waiting for Never, and I had said this in our pregame, but I don't think we got to get a chance to talk about it. So we'll talk about it right now. And I might have misunderstood this, but I was getting the impression that you didn't like the full release of Waiting for Never. Did they change something? Is there something that you don't like about it?
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. So they modified everything about it. The sonic sound to it, like the EQs are different. The chorus, they completely Krayzie changed the pit, like the octave that he's singing the chorus in. So it's like 3 octaves higher, or maybe 2 higher than the original version. But they added in like this like effect to it that kills. Like the original version has like it's not that it's raw, but it has a natural sound, whereas this version has like a compressed kind of sound. Or I don't even know if compressed is the right word, but there's an effect, like an overall EQ effect that modifies how it sounds. I don't know if the word sonically, but they killed the original EQ to it, and Krayzie's chorus is different, and it's so different that it's so noticeable. I mean, it's not like the only thing I could tell you, and I'll just do it in code word. It's the difference between, this is not even accurate, but I was going to say Sacrifice, the original version versus the Shayna version. But it's not that, because it's the same guy, but the tone change, it's like, it's obvious. It's kind of like, okay, New Waves, the song Waves.
Is it so much that you're not enjoying it? Is it so much that you're not enjoying it?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying it, and I waited for Never, and because it's not just one thing. If it was just like the different octave on the chorus, that'd be one thing. But I could live with that. But it's the way they changed the EQ that killed it for me. It completely changes, because I was talking about like
talking about what video is it at the end of?
Oh, it's at the end of so hard to let go. Fuck, any Bone fan wouldn't know that. So hard to let go. Yeah.
I'm
it's at the end of
Bone fan that didn't know it. Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean out there, yeah. So hard to let go, and then it blends into Waiting for Never. I mean, I could still enjoy it, but every time I'm listening to it, I'm just thinking like, man, like I keep envisioning the decision process. Like, hey, you know what? These people have been waiting for this song forever and ever. Let's change it. So, and I think
it's funny too. I remember us talking to Shutter, and you just putting Shutter through this fucking abrasive questioning, trying so hard to get the answer, and you could tell Shutter felt so bad that he had no answers for you.
Well, we finally got. I mean, I'm happy to finally find out how the story ends, and but it'll grow on me. It's like this. All the times that you've made modifications to your body of work, and I initially have been like, ugh, but then over time, I forget about it and I get over it. So like if you ask me the same question a year from now, I'll probably be like, oh yeah, I'm listening to Waiting for Never all the time. I don't even mess with the original no more. You know, it's just gonna
Yeah.
take time. Because you figure I've been hearing it for 10 years, and then you finally get the full version and they flip the EQ, they flip the chorus, you know, so
So,
that's all I'm
so
saying.
you would be with the majority of Bone fans saying, and while it's an unfair comparison, or we feel like they're not the same comparison, you would say Carbon Monoxide is edging out QuickFix Level 2.
It's not even edging out. It's clearly ahead of QuickFix 2. I mean, it's an album, so I don't feel it's fair to compare the two because one's a mixtape, one's an actual album. So I'm saying Carbon Monoxide's a better album than QuickFix, and that's coming from by me saying that that's coming from the guy that Krayzie Bone's number one and Bizzy Bone's number two on my hierarchy. But Bizzy Bone has put in more work to get in shape to get current, and I think Bizzy wins this round for the first time over Krayzie. I'm taking Bizzy Bone this time. Tighten
Yeah,
up, Krayzie. Get in shape.
I'll say this. I'll say this. If what John's saying is true, which is we're comparing a warm up to an album, I will say that you gotta watch yourself then. If this is a warm up, I've seen Bizzy's warm ups, and they're usually considerably less than this Quick Fix album is. So we better keep that Blaze that Blaze weapon in his arsenal, going forward, because if this is a Krayzie Bone warm up, it's a fuck of a warm up. What he's gonna do for an album is gonna be top tier. Now, I haven't got a chance to listen to Annihilation, but that's next on my list. I'm gonna listen to Annihilation, but I will say this: with Quick Fix Level 2 being out, with the Carbon Monoxide being out, with Annihilation being out, with new Flesh and Bone tracks dropping all the time, with Bizzy Bone on a tour, with Bone Thugs and Harmony on a tour, I can say on behalf of all fans that we love every one of these projects, and it's great to sit on this podcast and talk about another Krayzie Bone Quick Fix or another Bizzy Bone album or whatever the newest Flesh and Bone drop is. For the love of God, Bone Thugs and Harmony, if there was any time for you guys to reunite and give us a brand new album, it's motherfucking 2020. We've waited, we've listened to all these things, all these albums are great. I love every time you drop one. I'm going to support every record. I'm going to every CD, every digital that drops. I'm going to give the light of day. I'm going to give it the time. I'm going to make sure that I thoroughly listen to it. But the elephant in the room, the thing that isn't being said, the thing that we're not harping on, the thing as we clap for every single one of these solos that's not being said, is that time is running out to give us another classic Bone Thugs and Harmony album. So for the love of God, for the love of Eazy-E, for the love of Eternal, for the love of Rob J, please, Bone Thugs and Harmony, get back in the booth and give us an album in 2020 with all 5 of you, because the fucking solo albums are ridiculous. And I say on behalf of every Bone fan that that's not what we want to hear. And anybody that says different is lying. We are ready for a brand new Bone Thugs and Harmony album. Nobody at me. I don't want to hear it. If you're not behind that motive, you're not talking about what I want to talk about in 2020. In 2020, it's Bone album or shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. And man, has it been 10 years since, I guess World War III counts as, is that their last album? Oh no, I guess New Waves is considered but it's not a Bone Thugs and Harmony album, right?
Right.
It's just Bone Thugs.
And well, I know a bunch of fans do not count World War III. I count it as very loosely. You guys have heard me go in about this album, multiple times. But because it's not. That's not like an actual album. It was the start of an album. It could have been a great album, but then it was left in the air, and then it was Frankenstein put together, and it wasn't what it should have been. So is a group album? Sure. Is it a real group album? No, let's not bullshit. Is New Wave's Bone album? No. Not to me. It's always a crock of shit when New Waves gets counted as a Bone Thugs and Harmony album, and you don't count every single Bone Brothers album as a Bone Thugs and Harmony album. Shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? Like that's not the last real Bone Thugs and Harmony album that we got is almost 10 years ago. Flesh and Bone
Man.
is fresh out of jail after a 10-year hiatus. So you're telling me in the amount of time that he was gone, we could release Resurrection, Thug World Order, Thug Stories, Strength and Loyalty, and then get Unified out. And then in the 10 years that he's been here, we haven't been able to get more than one real album. Guys, as a hardcore fan, as a huge supporter, as somebody that just spent 2 hours talking about solo albums and praising everything from the content to the beat to sound effects, in 2020, we need an album. John, you've been a Bone fan for a long fucking time. We're talking you've been a Bone fan since they were creeping on a come up, 1994. It's about to be 2020. What do you think the chances are, knowing the current state of Bone Thugs and Harmony, seeing that Bizzy just put out the Carbon Monoxide solo, seeing that he did the Carbon Monoxide tour at the same time that they were doing a tour? I assume from your footage, Bizzy Bone wasn't at this group at this group show that you saw. What do you think the chances of us getting a Bone Thugs and Harmony album in 2020 are?
I think if Bizzy was mentioning in the Breakfast Club about of the members regaining their rights to the music, I don't know if it's after 25 years contracts expire. Somehow they're getting some kind of rights. I don't know if it's to the masters or if it's a portion or what they're getting. It sounded like something's expiring from Ruthless, and they're gonna actually gain some kind of not quite ownership, but I think they're gonna gain something, which would then make it business wise make sense for them to make another album. The
Thank
thing is,
God.
if they're gonna, but he didn't say it like that. He briefly mentioned it, and it just sounded like it was just for. I'm not sure the details, but I think something like
Yeah.
that, if that happened, if some kind of rights went back to the original creators, then they'd have an incentive to do it. But this is what I think too. Since they're constantly touring, you should put out an album. Like, why keep touring around if you don't have a new album to tour with? They do have singles though. So like I said, at that concert, and they have plenty of body of work to perform. But I just think if you're
They
going to
do.
be touring all the time, at least promote
And
a new group album.
and I remember them talking about, hey, we're just gonna. If you remember during More Than Thugs, they were like, look, this isn't for an album. We're just, we're trying out some singles. Even Everything 100 wasn't actually for World War III. It got fucking thrown on there later on. Like, they've just been trying the singles thing, and I think we live in a digital, very single driven world. But as I established earlier when we talked about the fact that Blaze understood the little things that we want as Bone fans, that we as Bone fans want an album, that we want the website with the skull to click, that we want all that extra shit, then we need to also, in the same thought process, understand that while we're not the same fans as everybody else, we actually want the album. We will actually go with the album, that it's not about the single, and that we shouldn't be trying to strike a brand new fan base in 2020. We should be rejuvenating and reinvesting in the fan base that you've had for 20 plus years, that is going to pick this album up. If a Bone album was announced tomorrow, people would go fucking crazy. I just saw Snoop and Bone took a picture together. They've been doing a lot of shows together. Bone is, I'm not going to say as relevant as they've ever been, but the relevancy of Bone Thugs and Harmony has been riding at a high for years, in terms of, you remember when it was always, we're back, we're back, we're back. I don't think they've had to say we're back for a long time. I think that Bone has been in their place, their OG's place, and it's been a while, and I'm just ready. I'm ready for a real album. I'm ready for a real album. Let's get DJ Unique in there. Um, we've tried
I
all
think
this other.
I think there's just like the right business thing has to come along. Because as you see from that footage, I went to the show in 2019 September, Orlando, Florida, of all places, and it was packed. The whole freaking place was packed. Bone fans in Disney World. You know what I'm saying? Like there's Bone could fill up Disney World. It was Universal Studios, but we're in Disney World, Orlando, Florida, and they packed that place. And then they played, a couple years earlier in 20, I forgot what year it was, but I put the footage up. I went to this small place in Fort Pierce, Florida. You probably never even heard of the place. And it wasn't packed like Orlando was, but this place that nobody's ever heard of was packed. Everybody came to see Bone. No matter where they go, somehow they still they could always sell out. And I don't know why they don't just do an album. Why not? They did all this other stuff. They do promote their solos. Like, I'm at this Bone Thugs and Harmony show. Lazy Bone's like, yo, go get my solo album. And I got another solo album coming out. And then Krayzie's like, yeah, QuickFix is coming. And yeah, it's like, hey, how about it's so much less effort to make a group album than it is to make a solo album. So you guys would rather put all this additional effort of having to do 3 verses, getting all your own beats, doing it all yourself, than to just do 1/5 of the work and do a group album and
I
make
think it's the
everybody on the
bar.
planet happy.
The bar is set high too when you think of
Yeah.
it in those terms, right? Like we were able to just sit here and tear down 2 solos, and well, they put their whole time and effort into these solos. It's like, I don't think the blow of, let's say, which by the way, I thought both of those records were good. Quick Fix 2 and Carbon Monoxide, no matter which one somebody likes more or less, I felt like they were both very solid. But let's say one of them was total dog shit. It would hurt to sit here and say, hey, Carbon Monoxide was dog shit, right? But you could move on from that, because if we're speaking factually, there's been dog shit Bizzy Bone albums before. But it would hurt a lot after 10 years if they put a Bone album out and we were like, what a fucking pile of shit.
It's
And
impossible.
and
If it's all of them, when it's all of them together, have they ever the Unify album, the songs that have all 5 of them on them, none of them are bad. And I
but
mean, if they even all
but
are,
again though, I'm just saying that the level, if you're them,
yeah,
you're like, what else do we have to prove?
yeah,
It's kind of like when they keep getting Floyd Mayweather Jr. to take fights. He's like, bro, I've been undefeated. Like the only thing I have to lose is actually fucking losing.
yeah.
Why do this again and possibly lose? So I do see the perspective of, why possibly fuck this up. But for me, it's like, it's a little fucked up because like we pointed out, if you exclude new waves, which you're a living breathing boner if you don't exclude new waves from the Bone Thugs and Harmony discography, then we got the World War III, and that's just not the way to end.
And to be
That's
honest, like nobody feels like Unify was really an all 5-member album cohesively from front to back. You know what I mean? Like it has like a
we've
Heaven's
talked about
movie ish. Like and in fact, even Resurrection doesn't feel, and Thug World Order, none of them. The last real Bone album we got was Art of War, which is crazy to say. That's the last time we really had all 5 there. I mean, you had all 5 on Unify, but not really, because some songs have
well,
just 3 guys on it, and it's just verse chorus verse chorus. It's not that same Bone style. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
and we've
and
talked about that, how Unify got fucked up. I made reference to the think tank earlier, and it was like the think tank was almost completely fucking ignored, because if we would have got the think tank version of Unified, it would have been different, you know.
So here's a question for you and the fans then. Okay. It says Bizzy's got, from what I hear, he's got the next 2 years booked, right? So I don't think he even has time to do a group album. So what would you accept and would you go along with and would you support and would you still pull your hair out for a Bone Thugs and Harmony album that doesn't have Busy Bone? So if it was just Krayzie, Lazy, Wish, and Flesh, would you be okay with that? Would you be looking forward to it? Like, would you be excited to? Because I mean, we were excited to get Thug World Order. We may not have liked it, but we knew that Thug World Order was missing Flesh, right? So it was just the 4 guys.
Well, I would be excited. I would be excited no matter what to know that there was a true blue real Bone Thugs album coming. But I wouldn't be as excited. Like, I mean, there's no, you know, I don't think anybody that says that they would be as excited for a 4-member No Busy Bone album in 2020 as they would be for a full, you know, 5-member thing is fucking lying. You know, that's impossible. I think that I would be excited. I would give it its just due. But I also think that I would sit there and go, man, Busy Bone would have sounded fucking dope on this song.
Yeah. Yeah. How good? I mean, if you could really get, and I think about this too, these guys are in their 40s now. I mean, you know, and they all have, I think they were explaining, they were like, yo, we all have like our own schedules. It's so hard to book all 5 people to be there to go through the process. But man, it would really be nice to have an all 5. Like, here's what it is. Check this. I just dawned on me. They finally gave us new waves, right? So there's no more of this 20 years of wondering what a Krayzie Bone, Busy Bone album would be like. I mean, whether or not anybody is satisfied with that album, at least it happened, right? So we got that Krayzie Busy album. Now we know. Whatever we think about it, whatever, it happened. They finally gave us what we asked for. Now, people have been clamoring like, hey, man, we need a real group Bone Thugs and Harmony out, like a real thing, and with DJ Unique too, if possible. Like, just one time to redo it the way we want it, just to get us off your freaking case, just to see what it's like, and it would be cool to just see if they could still pull it off as a group, all 5 members. But at the same, like as you were giving your example, I was thinking of, I'm like, man, you know, I was really satisfied with Strength and Loyalty. I was upset that Flesh and Busy weren't on it, but it fulfilled me. Like Strength and Loyalty really fulfilled me, and I was accepting of the 3-man group, hoping that Akon would get more time in it, or Mariah Carey or whatever. I was happy with 3. I was like, wow, with just 3 it was cool. Imagine all 4 of them minus Busy, or maybe Busy on like 3 or 4 songs. If it was like that, basically like think Resurrection, but replace the role of Krayzie with Busy. You know, so minimal. I want all 5, but like at this point, I'm willing to compromise. And to your point that you made earlier, this is the biggest part where I'm like, Fleshbone's been out of jail. You guys could have been capitalizing on Flesh this whole time. Why? Why? Why haven't you capitalized on Flesh? Why?
I think it's because the world's enemy missed the mark so fucking heavily. You know, if there was ever a time, and we've touched on this before, but if there was ever a time, I compare wrestling and rap music all the time, right? So Vince McMahon heavily missed the mark when WWF bought WCW. They had one chance, they had one Eminem moment for total annihilation of Vince McMahon to flex and show up on this other show. Vince McMahon could have walked out on this show and just this thing could have been handled in any way, right? But it was handled poorly, and it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and once it was handled poorly, there was no handling it again. And Flesh and Bone going away at the height of Bone Thug's career for 10 years, and then the fans staying down for 10 years and him getting out and them having that comeback album, that was a once in a lifetime shot. The hype around Unified, you couldn't get that hype around Bone today, I don't believe. The hype around Unified, with the think tanks and the Flesh and Bone documentary and all that was so high for the mark to be missed like that. I do think that it puts a little bit of fear behind the process. Yeah, it's to me
what we're
though.
not factoring in. This is something we're not factoring in. Like, and this is a funny thing too. From a Bone perspective, the whole Migos beef, it's kind of like, we don't really like it. But that's exposed Bone to a larger audience. For example, and it may be more now, but the Bizzy Bone Breakfast Club interview, when I last checked, I think it had 1.1 million views on it.
Mm-hmm.
Bizzy's pulling in 1.1 million. Now, maybe that's built into Breakfast Club. I don't know. I haven't checked the numbers on their other videos, but he still pulled 1.1 million into that interview. He 1 million people saw Bizzy Bone talk. And for some of them, it might have been the first time in like 10 years. So, and not only that, that interview came out like almost a month after the album dropped. So this is creating hopefully a whole nother cycle of purchases for him and interest into the album. So it was like a smart delayed interview. You had the initial rush of all the fans buying in, and now he just got introduced to 1 million new potential people. Breakfast Club is New York based, so that's a whole different audience that may have been picking up on Bone there. Who knows like what's going to come out of that? The success of Carbon Monoxide, we don't know how many conversations and how many deals may be getting made right now due to the success from that, and due to the Migos diss. And remember, Lazy went #1 on SoundCloud. Lazy's got Annihilation. He's got a whole nother thing, bro. The fans were loving Annihilation. Real people do real things at all time. The whole place was saying it, so they knew his new track, and so they're doing
I love
great
that
stuff.
track.
Like, we're hating on these solo tracks, but man, and Fleshbone, the Do You track, everybody knew that. And so like these solo projects are being successful for them. And I think maybe once they fill their pockets and get right, then they might be able to say, hey, let's do a group album. Plus, throughout the success, there's going to be somebody that's going to say, hey, we got to get these 5 guys back together and do it up the same way we did before. Plus, if their movie ever comes out, you'll have that as well. So I think there's so much still on the horizon and a possibility for Bone to still come back with a 5-man group.
Well, I'm not hating on the solos. Like, let's just be clear. I'm not hating on it. I'm hating on this. Time, we have no control over the time situation. We need to be accepting of the fact that these guys are getting older. You can look at Bizzy Bone, the youngest, the most untamed of all, and you can see Bizzy Bone's life is changing. That kind of gives you an eye in on how much the rest of them have changed. There's only so much time to put this record out, and that's why I have the big push for it right now, because I'm like, well, this is the hottest they've been in a long time. This is the hottest they've been, and like you said, this Migos thing, they're hot right now. Not as hot as they've been previously, but this is the hottest that I think Bone has been in a long time. This is the time to do an album. Now I'm sure there's lots of logistics there that I as a fan or us as fans, we don't understand. And I think John's tried to defend these logistics, and I'm sure a big piece of it is just that the dollars don't make sense. Because if the dollars made sense to make Bone Thugs and Harmony albums, I think we'd be fucking crazy to say they wouldn't be, right? So I'm sure there's logistics there that have to make sense, but I do believe it's the only thing that will really appease. Like they didn't like new waves, right? If let's say, let me throw this at you. QuickFix 2 and Carbon Monoxide, they came out roughly the same time.
Yeah.
Within a month. Nobody was really happy with New Waves. Just speaking generally, right? Like, we know a bunch of us loved it. But nobody was happy with New Waves, and it wasn't the Leatherface Little Rips album we wanted. If New Waves didn't exist and it was, you know, QuickFix 2 Carbon Monoxide, and this was a group effort, so all those songs would have featured them together, would fans be happy, and we'd be in a good place?
I mean, like if they
that
got blended.
Yeah, so New Waves didn't exist, and these two albums were together, and they were together. Is that the album that we would have?
No,
So in other words, is that the album that Bone fans have wanted from Bizzy and
no,
Krayzie?
no,
So it's impossible. That's my point. New Waves wasn't what they wanted. QuickFix fucking 2 and Carbon Monoxide, we just sat here and slapped them on their fucking asses and gave them fucking participation awards this entire thing. But I just said, hey, if Krayzie Bone was on every Carbon Monoxide song and Bizzy Bone was on every QuickFix song, is that the Krayzie and Bizzy album that we all wanted? And you said no. It doesn't exist, the thing that we're looking for in 2020. The only thing that's going to get you up out of your seat, and this isn't to shit on any of their solos. New Waves didn't do it. Carbon Monoxide didn't do it. Annihilation didn't do it. None of it's going to do it. The thing that will stand them up out of your seat is when they say all five. And when you said, could you do it if it wasn't Bizzy? Yeah, you could do it. And I'd be excited and I'd play it. But I'm not going to stand up out of my fucking seat until it's all five of them.
Yeah, and I hope when they do it, I hope this shit comes out of nowhere. Like, I hope all of a sudden there's a single that just comes, like, there's nobody on the BTH board knows, nobody knows except like people that made it, and then just like it naturally happened, like all of a sudden you see this advertisement for the Bone album. I don't even know how we'll see it because we don't buy magazines anymore, but like somehow there's like a trailer and it says you've been waiting for a decade. Boom. 5 true thugs from the double clock, and you're like, what? So if they do it like that, and it's just they hit you with this coming attraction for it, and then it just happens, and it actually drops on the release day that they say it is, to really recapture that old spirit, that would be dope. But you made an excellent point. It's like they tried every other option. They've exhausted every other option but the 5-man group album, and none of them are satisfactory. Even a Krayzie Bone, Bizzy Bone, New Waves album with Steve LaBelle's help and the highest production quality available at the time, and 5 music videos, and potentially a documentary, and we're still like, nah, that ain't what we wanted. And to your point, like as you were phrasing that, I started to realize, see, to qualify Carbon Monoxide, it's, if there wasn't 15 years of subpar Bizzy Bone album, I don't know how well Carbon Monoxide stands up. Like if Carbon Monoxide dropped in 1990 or in 2000, I don't know if we would be celebrating it the same way we're celebrating it now. More of it's like it's a life raft. It's like, oh, thank you for saving us. And
well, I think that the reason for that is because the things that are special in Carbon Monoxide, if it would have been released back then, they weren't special. They were the norm. So the things that make Carbon Monoxide special are that he went back and he understood what we wanted. That would have been considered the norm back then. So it may not have been as special because, again, it goes back to the content. It goes back to that there isn't a Thug's Cry level song on it. So it may not have been as revered, but we can't compare 98 and 2019 Bizzy Bones like that. Blaze did what he did because he understood what it should be, because it got so far off from that. I would venture to say that if Bone did another album, even if Unique is doing the production, a guy like Blaze, you know, and this would never happen because of the hierarchy of Bone, and this is where the shit doesn't work out. But Blaze should probably be the executive producer of that album. Blaze understands
Yeah.
the Bone sound better than anybody else right now, with the exception of maybe DeMizza, and DeMizza only understands, you know, 1/3 of the Bone sound to the
Yeah.
perfection. He nails the More Than Thug shit. You know,
Yeah.
that shit, DeMiz is gonna get 100 out of 100 times, but there's, you know, there's more layers to that.
Yeah.
And that's where you need Unique, but even Unique, people don't like to admit it, but you know, I keep it 100. You know, Unique isn't as in touch with that sound because even he has grown and evolved. The same way they grew and evolved, he has grown and evolved. The move would be to put all 5 in a room, make Unique and DeMizza, you know, produce, and of course, you know, try to bring in some of the other guys too, right? But I mean, those are the big ones that come to mind when I think about it. And let
Well,
this
Tony C,
motherfucker
you know, like all
blaze.
like the original Eternal cast, and Tony C, and maybe even bringing in an old timer like Yella. He knows, the old elders remembered how to make real, I don't know, and actually
Yeah, Tony
Avedon,
C is great.
yeah, and Avedon did a good job on New Waves. I don't know if he did the mastering, but like Avedon's listed as one of the key produce. I'd include him too, just to keep it current. And and let me ask you this too. Here's a what if scenario. What if Crazy Bone in 2006, 2007, when he was approached by Swiss Beats, went ahead and said, you know what, I'll do it solo, and didn't keep it real for his boys? Like, what if? How does the future pan out if Crazy does that?
If Krayzie would have done that, which is something we've talked about a lot, right? That Krayzie Bone originally had a solo deal and hung it out there and wanted to get a deal for the boys, and he did. And that's why he put featuring Bone Thugs and Harmony on both of those songs, that it was just crazy. If Krayzie would have done that, he would have. There was a summer where Twista got big again. It was the summer that he did the Jamie Foxx, that song with Jamie Foxx where they
Yeah, I vaguely
the
remember
the
that, but
gold
yeah,
the gold digger shit.
yeah,
Um so that year Twista kind of resparked. So there was the initial Twista run, and then he was just kind of Twista, right? Like the fast guy. And then he had a summer where he was kind of running with Rockefeller Records, and he was kind of a big deal again. And he was kind of finding new fans and shit, and it was cool to have him on a feature because he would come blow it up. And he had his summer, and it it kind of relaunched him. And then it was over. I think it would have been the same thing. I think it would have been the same thing for Crazy Bone. I don't think that we'd be sitting here talking about, wow, Crazy Bone really, I don't think he had a new career, is what I'm saying. I don't think he would have like Busta Rhymes like launched away from leaders of the new school in such a big fucking way that he had his own huge career without them. I think that the summer of Bone was going to happen no matter what, or that summer, and it would have just been Crazy Bone doing I Tried by himself, or it would have been Bone. But I think that year was all there was under the Swiss Beats, and a lot
but
of
he
that
made
had to
the.
do with
I was going to say he made the right move by getting the group album, strength and loyalty. As we've said a
Oh,
million
I
times on the
agree.
album,
I agree.
that like saved the ship. That saved the
Oh
company,
yeah. Oh, I
and
agree.
which is why
The
we're here 12
question
years later.
I have is, at that time, Crazy Bone looked like best he had the best chance, right? Swiss Beats was really kind of courting him to start. Um, he's got all this style. He's real good. Who knows what the conversation was, but it kind of appeared like Swiss Beats wanted to really kind of push Crazy Bone to be something huge. He put on for the group, And of course, now here we are, 2019. My thought on it now is that Bizzy Bone is kind of in that spot.
Right.
Bizzy Bone's
Yeah.
in that spot of, do I do Bizzy Bone or do I continue to do Bone Thugs and Harmony? Now, what makes this situation unique and different from Krayzie Bones is, in a lot of ways, this is like the last at bat for them.
Yeah.
You know, they can rap and tour forever. I'm not saying that Bone, I'm not saying that Bone splits up or whatever, but you know, what I do mean by the last at bat is they only got so many chances to put out this record that we're talking about. Bizzy also only has so much time to make Jam TV blow up, to make Bloodline Harmony blow up, to get this last Bizzy Bone solo run that looks, I mean, bro, this is his best chance. If you're Bizzy Bone, do you pull the Krayzie Bone right now and focus in 2020 on the group? Or do you continue to invest in your career, in the future of your sons? And he now has sons. We're talking 1 year all the way up to the ages of the kids in Bloodline Harmony. So we're talking, what, they must be in their early 20s. What do you do there? If you know this that could be your last at bat, are you going to take the time to do one more Bone album? And if you hear me, I'm a hardcore fan, right? I'm saying bringing Unique, bringing Blaze to make it sound like a Bone album. You said bringing Abaddon, and I'm like, nah, stay the fuck away from that, because I don't even want to hear that new shit. This is a wasted record from
Yeah.
from a any
do it the old
hardcore,
style. Yeah. Yeah, if you're gonna get back
you know.
together, you might as well go all the way and go all the way original. If those
But
guys would even still work with them.
but that's not going to be beneficial to anybody but a hardcore Bone fan.
Yeah, but okay, but if they do
Eternal today, let's say they hooked up with Unique and Blaze and they go release an album not as good as Eternal but pretty fucking good. Does that matter in 2020?
Oh, I see what you're saying. In the single based digital world, well, it
Well,
would
even
depend on the
past
marketing.
that sound, like, new waves didn't matter. Would making the old Bone sound matter? I don't see a benefit for Bizzy Bone right now. I don't see any benefit for Bizzy Bone to do this right now.
Here's the way I see it. This is what I see it, and not a single one of them would agree with this, and probably only fans would agree with this. But I think if they want to be able to keep making this money throughout, I'd say for them to get a bad one album record deal with the Machine, where they barely make any money on the album, and let the Machine make them superstars again. With the Machine's way, right? So we get Overdose with Bone. They have a super duper single, but it's all five. They get the Machine to do the photography, the imagery, the marketing, the 360, all the interviews, the movie, the biopic, the documentary, the whole entire package. But it's not really business worthy for them to do it, but because all the money is being done for the promotion of it, but they don't lose money out of it. And then be able to live the next 20 years off of that new masterpiece, which also opens up the entire back catalog, which also opens them up to release a gazillion more solo albums, which opens the path for Bloodline. Like if they do one industry album where they totally get hosed on the business of it and makes a gazillion dollars for some record label out there, they don't see a penny of it, but they live off of it for the next, just like Bizzy said, they get the off of Crossroads fame. I think they should just do that again, bite the bullet to basically get 22 more decades out of them, so they could be doing this into the 60s. And as crazy as that sounds, I'm pretty sure like Aerosmith did something like that. I'm pretty sure like the Rolling Stones did something like that as well. Although they probably got paid, I don't know. But I'm just saying they need to do a Machine album.
It's a tough decision no matter what. now. The machine doesn't exist the way it once did.
I don't know, man.
Biz-
Kanye West's Jesus is King is everywhere. Like I can't even escape it. You know what I'm saying? Like if I listen to an
but
Excel beat
but
song, the next track is
but it's a
Kanye West.
different thing though. That's because that guy is a part of. He's a
Yeah.
part of
Machine.
life more than music. But he's more
Yeah.
than the machine. When you talk about the machine, you're talking about Interscope Records, putting
Yeah.
millions of dollars behind an artist. When you talk about Kanye West, you're talking about somebody that is part of social living. There's people that know of Kanye West and his antics that have never heard a fucking song. Like, he's a different piece of the machine. When we talk about the music machine, the music machine's a little bit different in 2020. I think the person that is doing the thing that is the closest to that is, again, Bizzy Bone. He's really diving into social media. The thing that the machine thrives off today is, how big is the plate that you're bringing to the table? See, before they used to look for how good the talent was that we can exploit.
Yeah.
Now they want to know, how many fans are you bringing to the table already, so we can throw money behind that. So I think Bizzy Bone is trying to build up his social media stature in a big way. It's like it's just a different thing. I think Busy's doing the best job. I think after my rant about how bad I want an album from them, I can also see the writing on the wall, why it's like, fuck, it must be hard for like Bizzy Bone to say I want to do that right now. Um, it's just, I don't give a fuck who you are. It's disappointing to see Bone shows now that they're not all on. I just don't want to see that anymore. 2020, I don't want to see Bone Thugs and Harmony concerts that not all 5 of them are on, for whatever the fucking reasons are. Because it all goes back to time. I think if you listen close to somebody like Krayzie Bone, and the things he puts in songs and shit, if you look at a guy like, Wishbone, Wishbone's not a fucking Rolling Stone, bro. They don't, even if the machine gets re-involved, do you feel like Wishbone has 2 decades of touring left? Does Krayzie Bone look like a guy that wants to tour for the next 2 decades?
Wish is a tank, man. Yo, like I
He
said the
is, but
first time I
I
seen him, and then he is the show, man. Wish is
he is
still the heart of
he
that
is the
show,
live
bro.
show, but I don't think it's something that he wants to do for the next 2 decades. I think these guys have been really, I think that they want to level up to the next thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
well,
the time is now
and
for the album.
yeah, and Crazy, if you really evaluate some of the stuff Crazy says, he's like trying to get out. He's been trying to get out of the game since Fixtape 1. And then you think of his religious perspective, and who knows. I think they've all grown into their own individual people, and we keep making them a group. And it's like, but the other part of it too is, if they ever wanted to do it, they could probably do it with the snap of a finger. If all 5 of them decided, like, yo, let's make an album, they can make a few phone calls. And if anybody heard, like, hey, Bone actually wants to do it, I'm pretty sure that that could happen with a snap of a finger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think they just don't
yeah.
want to. I think it's them that don't want to do it. You know.
Well,
So
well,
let me throw this in there. We've been, and this is a complete side segue, but I want to make sure I let people know about this because I don't know how many people know. Google Play is a strange streaming music service because it's like anything goes there. I don't know who does the checking, what the heck, but there's a Krayzie Bone album that's newer than Krayzie Bone QuickFix 2, I think. And the name of the album is Nothing Left to Prove. And I guess the single off of it is Just a Man. Now, I don't know what the heck this album is. It's like 8 or 9 tracks, and 2 of them are that, like, kind of like on Thug Brothers 2, how there was just those acapella tracks, and The Eternal Legend. But if you look it up, there's a Krayzie Bone album called Nothing Left to Prove. The songs are like halfway mixed. They're not even mixed that good. It sounds very unfinished, but it's there. It has an album cover and it's there. So I'm advertising, not that it's any good, but it's interesting. Krayzie Bone, Nothing Left to Prove. Look up that. I have a question, and then also Lazy Bone's got an album coming out called Lost and Found. I just got an advertisement from Harmony House indicating that there's a Lost and Found. I mean, I heard that I thought it was already out. When I got the ad for it, I thought, man, I thought that album was out already. But apparently it's still coming out soon, which is impressive because he just dropped Annihilation. I don't know why Lazy wants to drop another album right away. Like, hey, Annihilation just came out, but guess what? I got a whole other album, Lost and Found. So there's that. I got a question for you. Would you be interested in hearing a Bone album or a Krayzie Bone album, a solo album of all cover songs by one by Krayzie and one by Bizzy, solo albums where they just cover songs that are famous songs that they wanted to, much like Guns N' Roses did a cover album back in the day. I think it was called like the Spaghetti Incident or something. Would you be interested at all in hearing a Krayzie Bone or a Bizzy Bone cover solo album?
Only if they were like, I don't want to hear them cover other rap songs. So
No.
if they were like trying to cover like things outside of the rap world, then yeah, I would be interested to see their interpretation on songs that you would never guess that they wanted to do.
Yeah. I'd love. I feel like Krayzie Bone's been dying to do something like that, And now, what Krayzie would do, I probably wouldn't be into, because it's like 70s soul, and it's not my kind of soul. Like I like 70s soul, but what I envision Krayzie doing, I'd be like, nah, that's nice. Like I like it, but I kind of wish he did something else. With Bizzy, like that would be just the track list itself, like what he came up with would be, and this almost should be a Bone question of the day for us to elaborate on this. Like, what would you want to see in a Bizzy solo album? Like right off the bat, I think of Prince. He did Murder Me, and I wanted to say this too, and this is gonna. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on the solos? Because I got a completely like unrelated question to ask you.
No, I'm done with the solos.
Okay, so here's the question. On Carbon Monoxide, back to Carbon Monoxide, on the Carbon Monoxide album, do you feel like the intro to Stalking Me is a reinterpolation of Bad Dream on New Waves? And I know that's kind of putting you on the spot. Like if it's not right off the top of your head.
I only listen. Yeah, I only listened to it at that one time, so it's hard for me to.
And I'm kind of like asking that, and I'm almost like asking the audience as well. Like, so next time, and I don't know if this has even been said. Maybe this is like a well-known thing. I'm working all the time, so I don't see the boards as much as I used to. But like when I listen to Stalking Me, I'm like, oh man, because I really like Bad Dream. I don't like the subject matter of Bad Dream, but I like the vibe of it and the spunkiness. It's like a spunky track. But the instrumental to it is really nice. That the pianos and the beginning of Stalking Me it doesn't sound identical, but it sounds like it's as if as Bad Dream ends, Stalking Me begins. And if you think of Bizzy's verse, like I feel like Stalking Me is the sequel to Bad Dream, even for the storyline. Like if you think of Bizzy's verse on Bad Dream and then you think of Stalking Me, it's almost like it's either the sequel or the prequel. Like I'm not sure which order they go in, but I feel like those songs are in the same timeline. So next time you hear Stalking Me,
I think he's talking. I think he's talking about the same bitch. Like I think the same. I think a lot of that's the same real life topic for him. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that makes sense to me because I think a lot of that's really real life.
Yeah, and the music to it, the subject matter and the music. So see if you see what I'm saying. I really like that particular piano, like those notes and the way it's played. So like I'm not saying it's a bite of Bad Dream. I'm saying if it is a sequel, that's a really cool. Like it was really cool how they did it. So just see if you see what I'm saying next time you hear it, because that's dope. as far as like bad news goes on, is there anything, the passing of Rob J, I'm pretty sure that's been devastating. I'm sad that we never had a chance to interview him. There was, because he would have had the absolute best stories. I'm a lot like, I'm not exactly like Rob J, but he's the historian. He was the Bone historian, and I've always been the Cecil West historian as well as the 23rd Street historian and whatnot. So like I identify with the love that he had for Bone, and so I just I send my condolences to whoever, and I wish we would have taken up the opportunity to be able to hear Rob J's stories, because it sounded like he had some really neat stories to tell, and this is, we were talking about time. We ran out of time on Rob J. I hope we don't run out of time on Krayzie Bone and all the greatness that Bone still has, as all the thousands of songs they've made. It always feels like they never reached their pinnacle. So time and just in our own lives. So I hope everything. I hope we get everything that we can get. We lost Rob J. We don't get those stories, and just make sure you don't leave things for the future forever, because the future may never happen. You might be waiting for never, and then never ends.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say that the loss of Rob J, we always talk about Soldier Boy being an unofficial Bone or whoever, but Rob J is like the unofficial sixth dog. Rob means more than Bone Thugs and Harmony. Rob J means a lot to Cleveland. Rob J was a pillar in his community. Rob J believed in the old school way, and so he cared about preserving the history, and he also cared about making sure that we level up the present. So you saw that he was real active in his community, with the kids, with the athletics, even just in the streets. But you also saw that the guy was real big in making sure that he kept the history of the football team that he played for, and not just him, but all those guys that he shared the field with. Uh, he is a important piece of Bone Thugs and Harmony. He's an important piece of Cleveland. He's a huge loss to that community, to that city, and definitely to this Bone Thugs family. To see the way that it hit them all, but especially the way that it hit Lazy. Rob J is just such a big piece of the background. You heard us many times allude to the Bone Thugs and Harmony TV network, and he was the big push and the big piece behind that, trying to make that happen. This is a guy that all the wildest merchandise and all the things that Bizzy was too busy to save, or that any piece of memorabilia that should have been kept over time, that the guys themselves overlooked, in their moments of glory, Rob J put aside and kept. This was the big brother of this group at a time where they were vulnerable, when Mo Thugs were coming up. This was what we call Krayzie Bone, the leader, because he was under the tray, or we call Lazy Bone the leader because that's what people say in the interview. So many people would tell you Rob J, Big Cuz, president of Mo Thug, president of Harmony House. That was the leader. So we lost an important person, and John touched on the timepiece that I talked about, and we missed that opportunity to capture Rob J's story. And that's the sad part about what we do, is that we got into this to solidify this story and to make sure that we touch on every angle, and that we hear every piece of the story, and that it's cataloged and it's saved, and we missed that opportunity. And luckily for us, and luckily for Rob J, his family, his friends, he was such a big entity. He was such a larger than life human being that was involved with so many aspects of so many different people, that luckily he didn't need Beyond the Harmony to tell his story. And tons of people will tell his story, and the city of Cleveland will continue to tell his story for years to come. And the last video I saw of Rob J is the last one that many people saw, which was him riding in his car, listening to Krayzie Bone Thugs and Harmony chain around his neck. And I think that's the way that Rob J would want people to remember him. And you know, I send my condolences to Cleveland, to Rob's family, to Bone Thugs and Harmony. I can't even start to understand what a big loss he was to all of them. And I think that I just put a pretty big perspective on it, and I'm not even touching the surface. So rest in peace to Big Cuz, Rob J. That is the sad piece of this, and even the passing of Rob J was something that pushed me to come back and say that we had to do another Beyond the Harmony. So
Yeah.
that
Especially
was
with it happening while we were on hiatus too, you know. So it's pretty wild.
yeah. And he
Completely
would always
switching.
pop in. You know, he would pop into the lives, and you know, he would give us some insight. You know, Rob had his own network goals, so he didn't want to give us, you know, everything that he knew, but he would give us little insights and stuff. And you know, it's total loss. Big
And
loss.
my favorite story that I know is that he kept the BNK. Was it the BNK cigar?
Yeah.
And told the guys, like, you know, one day you're gonna thank me for keeping this cigar here. Whereas, like, I
Yeah.
guess they had a bunch of BNK cigars while they were filming it, and everybody was smoking them, and he had the foresight and like to think like, hey, let's save a few of these as souvenirs to put in the future museum for Bone. Like, I think they were even thinking of starting like a Bone museum or something.
Yeah,
And
that well, Rob was working on that. The basically like a Bone, like Hall of Fame in Cleveland.
yeah, and just that he had that kind of foresight, especially, you know, in a time of consumption at the time, and like, hey, let's just, and he thought like, hey, you know what, this is a piece of history here. Let's keep this cigar. So somewhere out there is a BNK cigar that Rob J made sure to save to preserve the legacy for a potential museum. You know, I don't know if who will take up all the different, you know, roles that he took on. So someone's got to take up being the new heart and soul of the whole thing. So, you know, big loss, and you know, it's untold what was lost out of it. Just the foresight, the protecting the guys. He's very protective, and you know, so it's a shame we didn't get to know him better, but or at least bring his story at least preserved on the Beyond the Harmony platform. But because we would, he even said, he's like, man, I got the questions, the best interview, and it's not going to happen. So disappointed. It's too bad.
It's too bad, but I'm happy to see how much love and you know, so much love on his Facebook page, and just from the city of Cleveland. He meant more than Bone Thugs and Harmony, and that I say that in the most respectful, positive way possible. That Rob J wasn't just somebody that was the background player of these five guys. Rob J was a piece of their legacy, and Rob J made his own legacy in the city that he was from, and that's what that guy wanted to do. Rob J wasn't about getting big and getting the fuck out of Cleveland. Rob J was about making Cleveland what he knew it could be, and he did that right up till his last day. And I got nothing but love and respect, and I applaud that man and his life and his legacy. So, Beyond the Harmony wanted to make sure that we took the time to acknowledge the life of a Cleveland legend.
Absolutely. And to lighten things up a bit, that is right before the show, I seen, and you guys might want to look this up because this is borderline crazy. There's an album, there's an artist named Lazy Bone. He doesn't rap in English. It's not even rap. I don't know what the heck you classify it out as. It's on Google Play. I don't know anywhere else is, but if you look up Lazy Bone, Layz Bone, there's some guy out there, and one of his album covers is like the Revolution album, or whatever Lazy album has the pyramid. I tapped on it because I thought it was Lazy's album. I thought like it was an alternate cover that somebody made, and it's a completely different artist. So there's that, and also wanted to, you probably won't care about this, but maybe there's a few. Actually, no, this is Bone related. I just found out the other night that TQ has come out with a new album in 2019, not to be confused with the one that he dropped either in 2017 or 2018. He dropped an album called Coming Home in 2017 or 2018. I think the Miz may have had a hand in that. But he's got a brand new, well, not brand new, but he's got a 2019 album. And the name of it is, I forget the name, but I listened to it so far. The first couple tracks were really good on it. So if there's any other TQ fans the same way that I am, it's called Revolution. TQ Revolution 2019. So TQ's still doing it. And I found, this is another thing I found, there's like 4 additional albums to They Never Saw Me Coming. They're like, I don't know if there's like one, it's like a remix album. One is like all the cuts. One is like extended songs. So there's a bunch of like new TQ albums I'm finding. So I'm happy about that. TQ's made, a couple tracks with Bone. So I feel like this is a Bone related topic. Also, there was something I saw. There was a question posed on the, actually, do you have anything to say about TQ and the Revolution album?
Nope. TQ is cool, motherfucker. That's all I got.
I saw a question on the BTH board about, somebody asked what they thought, like they were asking the group, what do you think if you could pick one song that embodies the essence of Bone, like what's the most Bone Thugs and Harmony song? Isn't that a great question?
That's
like,
a great question.
Is
I think
what's
that
the
is
most Bone song?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Man.
Like, that's a great question of the day. And his answer, like, I thought it in my head, and when I saw what his answer was, I was like, that's exactly what I've thought in the back of my head, but I never knew how to say it. So before I give you his answer, which was also my answer that I completely agreed with, do you have one off the, like, spontaneously? Can you think of what the most Bone song is?
I mean, I have spontaneous answers, but it's such a loaded thing that I shall not throw out a spontaneous, not thought out answer in this for this thing. No way. I will not throw out my spontaneous answer.
Okay, so his answer, and you'd probably be surprised that I agree with this, but I've always felt this, like, and thought this, and so the answer was the everyday thing from the show soundtrack. That it's the most Bone song, and I completely agree with it. And when I saw it, I was like, it's in fact, like, when I saw it, I was like, this is actually what I think when I listen to Everyday Thing from the show. In my head, I'm like, this is the most Bone song of all time. And so I agree with it. I don't know if you guys agree with it. I don't know if Cecil West agrees with it, but I think that was a stellar question. And I guess that'll be the Bone question of the day for this episode of Beyond the Harmony is, what, in your mind, what is the most Bone Thugs sounding Bone Thugs and Harmony song?
That's
the
a good
essence
question.
of Bone.
I would have to think that through. I think that's a really good answer, though. I think that's a really good answer. That's.
I think Shots
I'm
to the
not.
Double Glock, even though like Shots to the Double Glock has Mo Thugs members on it, I feel like there's something about that song that feels very bonish, but then again, it's not. I don't know. Everyday Thing is to me the best answer. But like I don't know. I think the introduction on Eternal
I was
is
gonna
very
say like
bonish.
something as simple as the introduction is
Yeah,
volumes.
yeah.
But still though, I think his answer was very solid. Like there are wrong answers to this. Okay, you remember, you know, like unfortunately, like there are some wrong answers, and that's not one of them. You know, so while there may be another good answer there, I feel his answer was definitely top notch.
Yeah, and to plug, I can't remember the names. The Graveyard Soldiers. I told you about. We talked about that already, right? How like that album cured my need for the East 99 style.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So like that whole album is the most Bone song, and it's not even Bone. But Everyday Thing is my answer. Cecil's gonna get back to you guys with his
Yeah,
answer.
I'd have to think on that, you know, because you immediately want to go to something early, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to think. I'd have to think on that. I think he gave a good answer though.
Yeah. Now, um, I have a little reminder on my sheet of paper of my notes here to remind you to Little Busy Soul. I don't even know what that means, but I had it jotted in my
Oh,
notes.
I think this is way back when we were talking. We were talking YBL Sinatra. Um, at the early in the show, and I just don't know if we've ever talked about Lil Bizzy's EP, Son of a Legend.
Oh, I didn't even know he had one. He's
Yeah,
got an
he's got a
EP?
little EP. He's got a little EP. It's been out for a while. It's called Son of a Legend. Son of a Legend, UH
Right.
Soul. And man, I loved every song on it. It's just a little EP, but I loved every song. I love Bloodline Harmony. I love the fucking members. I love the old. I love that they make me think of Bone now. Not like Bone doing songs now, because Krayzie Bone songs still sound like Krayzie Bone songs, unless it's like that one that I guess nobody likes that I love. Um, but these guys, the Bloodline Harmony guys, they make me excited. So yeah, that was back when we were talking about YBL. I just wanted to point out how much I loved the Son of a Legend project. But because you've never heard it, I'm gonna definitely tell you it's short. It like fits in a lippy size serving, and
Yeah.
you should check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it just to see what it's all. I like that first "Busy's in the House." That chorus just the repetitive choruses, especially since it was already baked in my brain from Thuggish Ruggish Bone. Like I just couldn't get past that. But I know Little Busy's got some skills, so I wanted to hear that. There's a it's a personal Cecil West question for you for Cecil West, like the Cecil West. What? Because I don't feel nearly any of the Beyond the Harmony stuff, and I know you feel like 99% of it. What was it like going into that Cecil West account? Because I don't know your path. I don't log into your account. Was it hammered? Like, did you have a boatload of messages, or was it just kind of here and there? Like, what
Yeah,
was that like?
yeah, yeah. I got a ton of messages. I feel bad that I have so many messages. I got a lot of messages. Let's see how many friend requests. I have 359 friend requests. Um, yeah, it's a lot, you know. I feel bad. I feel bad that I went on hiatus, but like I said, I also felt like it was getting stale. This was a good conversation, but this is why I didn't want to kick it off into another season because you know it's just not ready yet. We're not ready to be there. but I also felt like we've been sitting too long, and you know, I just wanted to get in touch. I don't know how the next time we'll do this. This is why I didn't want to jump into a season, you know, because I'm not ready to commit to, and we've talked about it on the show, like how much it takes to pull this off. I'm not ready to commit to a season.
Yeah, same here. I couldn't at this point. I couldn't, like, there's no way I could commit at this point. Like, you know, maybe once I get some stuff cleared out, but like, you found me on the right day, the right time that I actually had time to do it. It throughout this whole thing between Brother Clay and Excel calling me, and then you hit me up. You've been finding the exact right moments to catch me at the right time where I had time to do this, and it's good.
Yeah,
like, this felt
it's the
good,
same
man.
for me. It's the same for
Yeah,
me. Like we're about to. I kept telling you we're about to hit the road again, and then who the fuck knows, you know, when I'll be available.
exactly. Yeah, I'm hitting the road too. So it's there's no. This was like, today was like the only day we could really do this, and we did it, and it's been cool, man. Like, we've had 6 months of Beyond the Harmony stuff, and you know, during Cecil's the 6 month hiatus, you know, I was able to keep up with him in a one-way communication through like his presentations to his fan base. So, you know, I was able to keep up that way. I didn't want to bother the guy too much because I knew how much he had on his plate just by watching it. Like, I'd gauge, like, all right, today's not the day to hit up Cecil West with some bone with some bone news. You know, I don't want to bother the guy. He's not trying to think about any bone right now. He's trying to build the kingdom. So you know, that's how it's been. But I haven't really been able to keep up with Bone either as much as I want. I did hear the albums. I went to the concert. I've dropped you know, videos here and there. I've been talking with Brother Clay and Excel Beats and D Hawk and all them. D Hawk's a real cool cat. He's got a real cool business plan. But overall, it's been work, man. Work and travel. Great to be back on Beyond the Harmony tonight. Great to talk to Cecil West tonight, chopping it up with the Bone fans, the Beyond the Harmony fans, catching you guys up on 6 months, letting you guys know we're still here. We're still doing it. We still got plans to come back. It's just not right now. But we will have little tiny, you know, releases here and there to keep peppering it through, breadcrumbs. I want to do some album reviews. Album reviews don't require too much investment into time. I also have a special one coming. So I do have a couple ideas. It'd be nice for us to get back into some giveaways. I wish I didn't send my Bizzy Bone book to you, because I realize now I want to narrate that, because I did narrate a couple pages in it. So if you want to photograph some pages, I'll do a narration of like a chapter just to see how that goes. There's plenty to still do with Beyond the Harmony. Also, you know, maybe we were hoping somebody would take up the mantle while we were gone and give us a reason to light some fire in our behinds to get back. I haven't seen much. Maybe I'm missing it. I know Krayzie's got a new podcast show. So things are going. Things are still going. Bone keeps moving. We got all these Bone albums. It's a good time to be a Bone fan, believe it or not. And I think we need to realize the efforts they're going. Flesh keeps coming out with stuff. So we got a lot. We need to be appreciative of all of these releases that we got. It's fulfilling. 3.5 albums, 4 albums with Lost and Found, and 5 if you include this bullcrap Lost Nothing Left to Prove album.
John, we will see what the future holds for Bone Thugs and Harmony, for Beyond the Harmony, for everything else that we've talked about tonight. In the meantime, my name is Cecil West, on behalf of Beyond the Harmony, with, of course, the one and only
Jonathan Lippy.
And this is Beyond the Harmony. We'll see you when we see you.
Beyond the harmony, for the fans we celebrate. Uploading new videos every Thursday, so join us. Beyond the harmony, for the fans we celebrate. Uploading new videos every Thursday, so join us. Beyond the harmony, for the fans we celebrate. Uploading new videos every Thursday, so join us. Beyond the harmony, for the fans we celebrate.